Hello everybody, it's Julia here from the Highly Sensitive Tarot, and I'm back today with another VR. I hope everybody's well, everybody's doing well. It's a lovely sunny day here in Norfolk in the UK. So the VR that I want to do today is hashtag my gratitude decks, and this is a VR to Moonflower Moments. I'm sorry, I don't know your name. I've just realised I didn't write your name down on my bit of paper. You're a new channel to me and I should have written your name down, so I will endeavour to do that. So yeah, I've seen obviously Moonflower Moments video, and I've also watched Tammy Pie do a video VR to this as well, and I thought I'd really like to have a go because I have a lot of gratitude for my tarot deck. So as per usual, I've found it really hard to just choose one deck for some of these prompts. Some of them have got two, one has even got 3 decks, but most have got one. I will try and pause the video in between decks so it makes it a little bit quicker, and I'll try and put some timestamps in as well for the different decks and the different prompts, because otherwise I think that, well, this is probably going to be quite a long video anyway, isn't it? So without further ado, let's start with prompt number 1. I shall move that over there. And prompt number 1 is: the deck that has stood by my side through my darkest moments like a sister. And this is the prompt that I chose 3 decks for. I couldn't help myself really. I have this deck, which as you can see is very old and very bent and very grubby, and it is my trusty old Rider-Waite-Smith deck that I have had. This was gifted to me by a lady who taught me to read tarot cards when I was 18, and I'm now 57, so you can see how long I've had this deck. So this deck has been with me through thick and thin. I don't, you know, it's weird, I don't reach for it quite as often as I used to, just because I suppose I've become distracted by so many other decks that I've accumulated since then. Because when I started off my tarot journey all those years ago, I only ever had this deck, and then started to accumulate a few oracle decks. But it's only been since I've had a channel and been on TarotTube in the last 4.5 years that my collection has grown to around 200 decks, I guess. So, but this really is a deck that if I wanted straight answers, if I wanted a deck that I could really trust, I would be looking to this deck. This is very, very precious to me. Just notice some of the cards are stained a little bit. I mean, this deck has been through it. I don't think I've had a box for this deck in I don't know how many years, so it's grubby. The second deck that I wanted to show you that's been with me through thick and thin really is my Goddess Guidance Oracle cards by Doreen Virtue, which I bought when the deck was published, which was 2004. I've had it all that time, and again, this deck has been with me through thick and thin. I've made connections with many of the goddess energies here, particularly Nematona, actually, the goddess of sacred groves, the Celtic goddess. But I'll show you her. Where is she? I've found this deck to be very grounding at all times in my life, really, when I've needed. There we go, there's Nematona. Create an altar or visit a power place to connect with the divine. And she's really helped me to do that in times of trouble, times when I've really needed grounding and look, see a beautiful gilding still on there. Such a lovely deck of cards, this. But yeah, the Goddess Guidance. And the third deck I just wanted to quickly show you, because in recent times, well, just this year actually, this deck really stood by my side through some dark times this year that I had. And it's the Penumbra Tarot, and it only came into my collection this summer. It was not a deck that I'd sort of been desperate to have for a long time. I just had seen it on somebody's channel and thought, oh, that looks nice, and I was just blown away by it, actually. It's an incredible deck, I think. I really, really like it. It really speaks to me. And this deck kept me going and held my hand, really, through quite an awful month this summer. And it's got a place in my heart already, and I can see myself reaching for this deck again in the future, should I need that real clarity, that real communication and connection with the deck. So yeah, I absolutely love this deck. Okay, so the next question, the next prompt is the deck that has told me the hardest truths. And again, this was a very easy deck to choose as well, and it's my Osho Zen deck. This deck does not pull any punches. It's particularly the swords cards in this deck. Well, so, I mean, some of the wands, I mean, like this one, suppression. This is a real shadow work deck. You know, there's real, yeah, there is real self-development to be had from this deck. You know, projections, the Seven of Cups. It's a the word has escaped my head. Here we go, look, there's a card. I think this is the Knight or the King of Swords, I can't quite remember. But look at that, look, control. Some of these swords cards are things that I've had real issues with in the past. And, you know, look at this card in particular, the Two of Swords, has been a card that has affected me on and off throughout my life, this sort of wanting to keep everything safe, you know, not wanting to let go, not wanting to just fall and let yourself go. And the words are escaping me. I become quite overwhelmed actually looking at this deck. I find it really, really powerful. Like I said, the Two of Swords is a card, isn't it, of keeping everything carefully balanced. You know, not wanting to take the blindfold off, not wanting to drop the swords, not wanting anything to change, just being frozen almost. And you can really see that here, can't you, with this card, Schizophrenia. So, in comparison, the Five of Swords, like, there's no comparison between a tree bark and a bit of bamboo, is there? These are the comparisons that we make all the time in our life, don't we? We compare ourselves to other people and other things, and none of it's very healthy. Morality there. Conditioning. Trust. Where is the card that really that I've spent a lot of time thinking about actually in my life? Where is it? I mean, there's some beautiful cards in here as well. This is the Queen of Pentacles. That's lovely. Oh, sorry about that. I had to pause. It was the postman. You know, the Five of Cups here, clinging to the past. I mean, that's a very different way to look at the Five of Cups, isn't it? Like everything is up there in her head. The miser, the outsider, the Five of Pentacles. That's very, very difficult to look at, isn't it, for your inner child? Where are we? Not that one. Sorrow. Sorry. If I'd been a bit more thoughtful, I would have... look at that. Look, guilt. The Eight of Swords. Courage. That's a beautiful card, isn't it? Exhaustion. Nine of Wands. Fighting. I think that's the Knight of Swords, isn't it? Mind. There we go. I'm not sure whether that might be the Page of Swords. I'm not sure. But look at that, look. That's really painful, isn't it? My head feels like that sometimes. It still does, but not quite as much as it used to. This one here, the Three of Swords, isolation. You know, really, really painful cards to look at, some of them, but I think really important cards to look at. So yeah, that is a deck that has told me the harshest truths in my life, for sure. So the next prompt is a deck that gave me a language for my feelings. Excuse me, I've chosen the Inner Child cards. These are by Isha Lerner and Mark Lerner, illustrated by Christopher Guilfoyle. Come in this great big box here. The reason why I chose this deck really is because for me, I think a good way in my life that I have been able to access and understand my feelings has been through stories. And this is a deck of fairy tales. It's very much an inner child deck. The book is beautifully written, especially for the majors, the stories that are going on in the major arcana here. The cards themselves, I mean, they're giant-sized and a bit silly, really. I mean, the art style's not really quite my style either, but to choose one of these cards and to read the story and to reflect upon how any of that that energy may have been in my own life and manifested in my own life has been really, really helpful, actually. I've done quite a lot of inner child work over the years. You know, I was not diagnosed with autism until I was 50. So, as you can imagine, my childhood was full of confusion and angst and being misunderstood and yeah. So as you can see, there's all the fairy stories in here. We've got Beauty and the Beast. It's only the majors that you get the big sort of stories, which I can't seem to find any of them as I'm going through. The Wizard there, the Emperor's New Clothes, the Big Bad Wolf, Snow White, and so on. So yeah, I have really found a voice and a language for my inner child feelings through this deck, the Inner Child cards. Okay, and so the next prompt is the deck that opened my eyes to what I could be. And I've chosen Caroline Miss's Archetype cards. This has been hugely helpful to me in my life. I think I bought this deck when it was first published, so it's 2003. So I've had this deck a long, long time, and I worked out because you can either just use these cards as like oracle cards really and look at your archetypes, or you can use it to work out your sacred contract. And Caroline has a book, I think, called Sacred Contract. And many, many years ago, when I was a mental health nurse, I used this deck a lot with some of my clients, particularly clients that were quite self-destructive, you know, that self-harmed and had personality disorders and, you know, various things like that, because it was a really, really good way of pinning down aspects of your personality and your psyche, you know, who you really are. Because when you've got mental health problems or disabilities in any way, it's kind of easy to just pigeonhole yourself as just, well, I'm this or I'm that, but we're actually many things, aren't we? And so I worked out my archetypes, and I went through the process in the book. I worked out my archetypes, and yeah, it was actually really, really helpful. It was quite a powerful thing for me, and it helped me to see that there were many aspects to me and my personality. There, you know, there wasn't just, you know, the rebel was actually one of my cards, and obviously there's a lot of shadow attributes that come with the rebel, and so it was really nice to see the more lighter attributes and to really consider how those things played out in my life, and the positives of having autism, if you like, you know, which when I was younger, I knew that I wasn't quite right. I knew that I had difficulties with sensory overwhelm. I knew I was extremely sensitive and introverted, and you know, all of those things can seem very negative in our society. And so this deck really, really gave me a lot of inner confidence and a lot of inner strength, and I feel I became a better person and a better nurse for using these, and I think that I helped quite a lot of clients as well. So I love this deck. I feel very, very fond of this deck. Okay, and the next prompt is the deck that dared me to live. And I've chosen the Reclaim Oracle for this just because, along the same lines as the Archetypes and the Inner Child cards, my more mature years, I suppose, have just been quite an intense process of readjustment and self-acceptance, radical self-acceptance, actually. And I've been much happier for it. And although I haven't had this deck too long, maybe like 3 years, I've used this deck a lot for shadow work. And again, it doesn't pull any punches. It's straight to the point, this deck. The guidebook is amazing. You can't hide from yourself with a deck like this. And I think that this deck just really even more developed my ability for this radical self-acceptance of who I was, and to actually feel proud of myself for the things that I've achieved in life, considering that really as a child I was overwhelmed by everything and everyone, you know. So the fact that I was able to have a career as a mental health nurse, to have my son and bring him up, and you know, really this deck has continued that journey for me, I guess. So yeah, it is the Reclaim Oracle. So the next prompt is the deck that celebrated my biggest victories. And you know, I had to really sit and think about that, because I suppose I don't really think in terms of victories in my life particularly. But I came up with this one, the Game of Thrones Tarot, which I'm very, very fond of. It's a beautiful deck. I wish I hadn't thrown the box away now. I don't know why I did, but this reads like a charm. I don't think you really necessarily have to have a great knowledge of Game of Thrones, but at the time when I bought this deck, I was watching all of the Game of Thrones box sets on TV, and which I absolutely loved and still do. And this deck actually saw me through a really difficult time and out the other end of it, into a life that was much more positive for me. So it's not necessarily like, you know, what do I want to say? This saw me through a very difficult time and out the other end of it feeling happier and healthier and more together. And I see that as a victory, actually, because the situation that I needed to get through and get out of and move on from was very painful and very difficult, and I didn't think that I ever would. But this deck actually really did help me, I think, through some of the struggles of some of the characters in this deck. I really related to some of them and their struggles and their victories, and yeah, the Game of Thrones tarot that celebrated one of my biggest victories. Okay, so the next prompt is the deck that taught me the importance of stillness. And I've got the Soul Trees Oracle cards here, and I've got another one of theirs, Soul Trees Ascension or something or other. I mean, I could have chosen either, to be honest, but I've just picked this one out. It's a beautiful deck, just trees, different colours, different shapes, with a keyword. Not much in the guidebook, but this is really a deck to sit and be still with, to meditate on. And I'm not really any stranger to meditation. It's something that I learned and taught myself and practiced actually in my nursing career quite a lot with clients, and it's something I find very helpful. Can't always do it. Sometimes my mind is just way too busy. There's too much chatter and I can't settle into myself. But this deck really does help me. I find the simplicity of it really helpful, and just the one keyword to focus on. It's kind of like path working, isn't it? To sit and go into a card and visualize yourself in this card and be part of this card and feel that. And it is a stillness, for me at least, because like I said, my mind is generally very busy and full of chatter, and not always the most healthiest chatter. You know, my brain can attack me quite a lot. I think the colours, just everything about this deck, the very simplicity of this deck is what has helped me and what has made it so powerful. I love this deck. Okay, so we're not doing too badly. We've got 4 prompts left. Let's get that burning a little bit more if I can. It's gone out, hasn't it? So yeah, we're not doing too badly for time. So prompt number 8 is the deck that gave me more questions than answers. And this was a really hard one to choose because many of my decks do that. I mean, the Mindscapes Tarot springs to mind. That is a very thought-provoking deck for me. The Hexan 2.0, the El Goliath deck. I have quite a few that I could have easily chosen for this, but I think from the moment I saw this deck, the Pensive Path Tarot by Reese Marin, the images, the artwork that she has chosen for this deck just is, some of it is just absolutely genius. I just think it's brilliant. And other than the clowns, there's 2 or 3 cards of clowns that I don't like. All the other cards are just amazing, and they really talk to me. They really speak to me. And some of the cards, there are so many questions with. You know, like this hermit, for instance. We don't usually see a woman. What's she doing? It looks like she's maybe come to the door with a light and she's looking to see who's there, but who knows? You know, there's a lot of cards here that I look at, and 100 questions could just come into my mind immediately. The Page of Swords, bless him with his sore little feet. You know, what's going on there? The Judgment card, you know, what is going on there? What else have we got here? The Two of Wands. This is another card that I really have a lot of questions in my head, because he's just like, well, shall I go out? Shan't I? You know, do I need my brolly? Is it going to rain? You know, where am I going to go? Would it be better just to stay home? I really like that. This card, the Five of Swords. You know, what's going on there? Why is there blood on the shirt? Is it his blood? Is it someone else's? Who knows? The Six of Cups. They brought a fish. The Six of... Oh dear. I absolutely just love this deck, like, so much. I really do. It really speaks to me. This card here also, the Three of Swords, like, it's a baby with a bird, but he's hurting the bird. Does he know that he's hurting the bird? Is it just a childish overexcitement, or is he meaning to squeeze the bird too hard? Do you know what I mean? There's this one. Is he waiting to get on that ship? Does he want to go somewhere? Is he just watching? Horrible clowns, don't like that. This poor little empress here, she's just too young, isn't she, for such responsibility? She's an empress in waiting, isn't she? This one is one that I always look at and laugh. It's just like, was he run over? Was he just walking down the road and fell over, collapsed? Is he dead? Is he alive? Just because we can see carriage tracks, we don't know for sure that he was run over. He could have been just drunk and fell over in the road. We don't know. Why is she upset? Is she going to throw something that's in her hand? She looks very grumpy. What are they fighting about? You know, I just love this deck. I absolutely love it. So yeah, this deck definitely gives me more questions than answers all the time. Okay, so prompt number 9 is the deck that taught me to notice the magic in the mundane. And I've got 2 decks for this. I couldn't help myself really. There's quite a few that I could have chosen. But the first one, and I've had this deck a long time actually. I don't know when it was published, but I bought the box set, the Shadow. This is the Book of Shadows, and there's a volume 1 and volume 2. This is the more contemporary one, and the volume 2 is like the pagan version of it. But these are all very much scenes of modern day life that we can relate to. You know, like the Fool is a schoolgirl on her way to school, you know, a teenager. And then we see her in the World card as this more self-actualized person, a more whole person, a grown-up person. You know, the Tower here, you know, she's broken a cup or a teapot or something there, and we can see she's angry and upset because she's all in red. Everything's red there and angry. She's on the phone to someone, and it's just like, this card just feels like it could be part of so many of our days sometimes, of like just that overwhelm where there's been one thing after another that's gone wrong, and the final straw is that you've knocked something over and broken it, and it sometimes can just feel like the end of the world, can't it? So I could totally get that. There are a lot of cards in this deck that I really relate to. The Seven of Wands there, that's a good card. 13 here, the Death card. you know, this is such a sad but ordinary part of life, isn't it, for many people? You know, they're selling up and moving, and we don't know whether they're moving because their family has broken up. You know, are they getting divorced? Or are they moving on to better things as a family? We don't really know, but there's a grief and a loss in having to leave something precious behind, isn't there? I mean, I always think, looking at this card, because of the little boy in the doorway there, that this is a sad ending. This is a divorce, isn't it? And it's a normal, everyday part of many people's lives, isn't it? The Chariot here, this is like mum driving all the teenage kids out somewhere to a party, and you know, that's a normal everyday part of life, but it's part of the Chariot energy, isn't it? To get out there and conquer the world, to grow and to learn how to be in the world. The Eight of Pentacles, somebody with their own little business, working really hard. So you can see what I mean about that deck. It's full of just ordinary little scenes of life that that most of us go through at some point or another in our life. And the second deck that is different to that is the Tarot Landscapes, and I had to choose this as well because this only came into my collection maybe last year or the year before. I don't know how old it is, but I absolutely love it. And there's no people in this deck. It's just scenes of nature and wildlife and the countryside, and again, normal things that if you get out into the world a bit, you'll see, depending on where you live in the world, obviously, but they are just so full of magic. I just think it's beautiful. I really do. I'm struggling to find the words for it, to be honest, but I do find it really, really beautiful. I mean, nature itself, you could say aspects of it are mundane, but they are so magical. You know, every time I sit in my garden and I look at the birds and the bees and the flowers, and every time I go to the river or the seaside and look at the ocean. My cat George just come in. Oh yeah, looking at the stars, looking at rainbows, all of it is magical, isn't it? It's just like, how the hell did this all come to be? It's just so profound and so magical, yet so everyday, isn't it? Okay, so we've got 3 more prompts left. And this one I've chosen 2 decks for as well, but it's the last one of 2 decks. And they're 2 very, very different decks, and they make me laugh for different reasons, to be honest. First one, I put in this little tin here, which is so gorgeous, and it is the Houseboat Tarot. I don't know anybody who has this deck other than Sandra. She has this deck, and it was on her channel that I saw this deck, actually. I'll hold it up because otherwise you won't see the little images in it. But this just makes me chuckle because it's so cute. I mean, look at this. Look, the 3 of Swords. Look, there's 2 little mice here. One is a chef with a big cleaver. I don't know what is going on there, but it's funny. They're so cute. There's so many little creatures in these. Look, a little hamster with a little girl. You also get the astrology cards in here as well. For Aquarius, we've got a little bird with a lifesaver ring on and a frog. The Hierophant with a little mouse and a kingfisher and a frog and a fish. Leo is the little kitten there, look. The 8 of Swords is a rabbit. The 9 of Swords, another little mouse in his bed. The Lovers, a little fairy and a mouse. The 2 of Swords, oh, the Page of Swords, a naughty kitten. Look at that for Aries, look, the cat and the ram and this, I don't know what that is, a weasel maybe. The Magician. Look at that Gemini, look. Wasps, I think they are, and mice. Oh, it's just beyond cute, and it just makes me chuckle because it is so cute. Look at the King of Wands, look. This frog here. Cancer, a little mouse fishing off the back of a crab. It just, oh, the Fool. Oh, look at that, look. Such a cute deck. Like, it just, it makes me chuckle because it's just so cute. It's like uber cute, isn't it? And the other one that makes me laugh and is not cute at all, actually, is the Medieval Tarot. Medieval Europe Tarot, sorry. Which I can't get out of the box. Come on. Come out. There we go. Which is an absolutely amazing deck. It's an amazing production. But some of the cards are hilarious. I mean, there's a lot of... this is quite a bloodthirsty deck. There's a lot of people being stabbed and speared and impaled and heads chopped off and whatnot. But there's also a lot of sort of weird cryptids, and I just love their facial expressions. It's just, to me, it's just funny. I mean, look at the Four of Cups there. This one, the Five of Cups. I mean, what on earth is going on there? We just don't know, do we? How everything fell off the table. But I think this one makes me laugh just because of the absurdity of some of it, and just because it's these medieval images are just not things that are that relatable to our lives, are they? They're strange and weird, and we just don't know what's going on, do we? I mean, like the Eight of Swords there, I always think that one's the Nine of Swords. It's like she's having this nightmare in bed, but it's the Eight of Swords. I mean, what is going on there? The same with this one, the Nine of Swords. I mean, that's even worse, isn't it? Just terrible. But it makes them think that one, the Page of Swords, that's quite rude. There are just, and this one, the Queen of Swords, off with his head. I mean, what is going on in some of these cards? We just don't know, do we? But I find myself, for all kinds of reasons, just chuckling at it quite a lot. I mean, it may be a reflection of my dark sense of humour, I don't know, but it's such a weird deck. I don't know how you could not laugh at some of it. So there we go. They are the decks that encourage me to embrace levity. Okay, so 2 more prompts. Prompt number 11 is the deck that shifted my practice. And I don't think this will be much of a surprise to many people, actually. Let's put that there. But it's the Tower of the Abyss. Up until this deck, I had not really fallen for or really connected with the deck since my very first trusty old Rider-Waite-Smith. There are a lot of decks I'd purchased that I loved and that, you know, read pretty well and I enjoyed, but this one just knocked my socks off, you know, it really shocked me because I normally like very colourful decks. You know, the more colourful, the richer the colour palette, the better for me. But, God, I just love this deck. This deck never fails to read well. It affects me emotionally. I could have chosen this as the deck that has more questions than answers because some of the cards feel that way for me. No matter how many times I look at this deck, there are always questions, which is what I think a good deck should do for you. It should constantly make you question. You know, you should be able to look at a deck many times and still see something new, you know, is how I feel. I find this deck really quite profound. It just moves me on many different levels. And I don't know, is this my soul deck? I'm not really sure what a soul deck is. I hear people talking about them. Perhaps this is mine. If I've got that wrong, tell me in the comments what a soul deck is. But I think this one, if I'm thinking rightly, this one may well be mine. There's nothing that I don't like about this deck, nothing at all. And like I said, it reads for me, it reads for other people, it never ceases to speak to me and to give me clarity. And so I guess that's what I'd choose for a deck that shifted my practice, because it took me away from my Rider-Waite-Smith deck, which had been very much my go-to deck before then if I wanted real clarity, you know. So there's that. And the last prompt is a deck that jump-started a creative project. And I could have chosen the Herb Crafters, but I've chosen the Soulflower Plant Spirit Oracle because last year I found myself glued to this deck and this book a lot of the time because I'd not long moved house. And more than anything, I was obsessed with my garden. Where I'd lived before, I didn't have much of a garden, and I'd been longing for a garden again, to plant it up, to grow my own flowers and herbs and, you know, all sorts of things. It's a very, very big part of who I am, and I'd felt lost really without a garden. So I'd spent all that time just like oohing and ahhing over these cards and planning and buying seeds and getting myself ready to grow a lot of these. And I grew an awful lot of these flowers that you're looking at here for my garden, like calendula, nasturtiums. I've got plenty of nettles, periwinkles, got some yarrow, obviously daffodils. Don't like hydrangeas. Bleeding heart, you know, I've got lots and lots. Pansies, I've got some winter pansies out the front at the moment. Chamomile, sunflowers, these echinacea. Oh, I love echinaceas. Crocuses, I've got some. So yeah, this is a deck that I just was obsessed with really, and it did give me a lot of inspiration and motivation. Well, I didn't need the motivation, that's the wrong word. I've got some lovely forget-me-nots coming in the garden at the moment, campanulas, just so many of the flowers and the herbs here I grow. I've got these poppies, lavender obviously, dandelions, don't have any zinnias, got some milk thistles, some asters. I mean, almost all of the flowers in this deck I grow in my garden. So yeah, it definitely helped me to get myself focused and keep my excitement going through a hard winter till the time I could get outside and start sowing seeds in my greenhouse. So yeah, there we go. They are my gratitude decks, and I am very grateful for all of them, to be honest, and many, many more. I mean, I could have chosen so many for this tag. They've all influenced me at different times in my life for different reasons. So yeah, I hope that you enjoyed that. Do say hello. I love to hear from people. Be lovely to hear if you have any of these decks and how they feel for you. And I shall see you all again soon. Thanks for watching and sending you all my love.